The stars above Earth were quiet that night. No sound, no warning. A small black ship entered the atmosphere. It didn't burn. It didn't crash. It just appeared, like a shadow born from the sky. Inside the ship, one man was tied to a silver chair. His clothes were torn. His chest was marked with strange glowing lines. His eyes were closed, but his mind was awake. He was a human. And he remembered only one word: Lyria. Far away, in the golden city of Thaler, on the planet Radar, Princess Lyria stood in front of the royal mirror. My silver skin sparkled. Under the light, her blue eyes were calm, but her heart was not. She was the only daughter of King Malvac, ruler of the Radari Empire. She was a warrior, a scholar, and a future queen. But one truth followed her like a shadow. She could not create life in Radari law. A princess who could not produce an heir was a broken link, a danger to the throne, a disappointment. Yet Lyria never showed fear, never showed weakness. She trained, she studied, and she fought harder than any prince, until today. The court hall was filled with whispers when the guards entered. Behind them came the gift, a human tall, strong eyes, full of fire. A strange mix of pride and pain in his face. His name was Kale, but he said nothing. He just stared at Lyria like she was something he had lost long ago. "Your Highness," said the High Counselor, "this is a rare offering. It's a gift from the outer colony of Havanine. He carries no disease, no defect. A perfect human male." Lyria raised an eyebrow. "Why would I need such a gift?" The king smiled coldly from his throne. "To fix what you cannot give." And ere Lyria's hands tightened. "I am not a breeding machine." Gasps echoed through the hall. Even Kale looked surprised. "You will accept the gift," the king said, his voice sharp, "or you will lose your place in the line." Lyria turned and left without a word. That night, in her private chamber, Lyria looked through her memory cube. She searched the old files. She had seen that man before. Years ago, on a secret mission to a dying human ship, she had saved a young man from death. She remembered his face, his eyes, the quiet strength he held. Was this the same man? Was this Kale? The cube flashed red. Security alert. A whisper on her private channel. "Lyria," came Kale's voice. "You remember me, don't you?" Her blood ran cold in the underground chambers of the palace. The king met with the high seer. "She will not accept him," the king said. "But she must. That child could unite the bloodlines, Radori and human." The seer looked troubled. "It is not just about heirs anymore, my king. That man, he is touched by something older than time. I feel it in his soul." The king's face turned pale. "You mean, yes, the prophecy child, born from fire and frost, the one who will change everything." The king stood. "Then we must control it, before it controls us." Lyria met Kale in the Garden of Moons. They did not speak at first. Then she said, "Why are you here?" He answered, "Because I dreamed of you. Because I owe you my life." She looked into his eyes. "You don't understand what they want. They want us to create something unnatural." Kale stepped closer. "What? If it's not unnatural, what if we are the key to something new?" Lyria shook her head. "I'm broken." Kale gently touched her hand. "You're not broken. You're the beginning." Suddenly, the ground shook. Lights blinked. An energy wave moved across the city. In the royal chamber, alarms screamed in a hidden lab deep below the palace. A machine that had been silent for 1,000 years began to hum, and in Lyria's body where doctors said life could never grow, something small, warm and alive began to beat. The first scream came from the royal medbay. Nurses rushed in. Lights turned red. Sensors blinked faster than ever before. And there, floating above Princess Lyria's body, was a glowing blue symbol, an ancient Radari rune that hadn't been seen in 10,000 years. It meant only one thing: life has begun. But that was impossible. She was infertile. Main story: Princess Lyria sat up, her skin pale and glowing with strange heat. Her heartbeat was fast. Her thoughts were cloudy. Something inside her was moving. Doctors surrounded her, scanning and whispering in fear. "It's a life form," said the head medic. "Half Rade, RI, ... half human." Another doctor gasped. "It should not exist. It defies our science. Our bloodlines don't mix." They never have. Lyria looked at the scanner. A small shape was growing in her womb. Clear, real, alive, and already ... powerful. The news spread fast from the palace guards to the outer colonies. People whispered in shock and confusion. An heir has been made. By a human. The cursed princess carries the impossible child. King Malvac stared at the royal wall painted with the great bloodlines of his ancestors. His jaw tightened. A human had given his daughter what no Radari prince could. He called for the High Seer again. The old creature arrived slowly, eyes glowing white. "You told me it was a prophecy," the king said. "Tell me now, is it a gift or a curse?" The seer closed its eyes. "I see a child born in fire. I see stars breaking. I see gods kneeling. I see your empire ending." The king's hand trembled. Then he gave the order: kill the human. End the prophecy. That night, in the prison tower, Kale sat in silence. His hands were bound. Guards waited outside with blasters. But inside the cell, something strange happened. The walls shook. A blue light flashed. Kale's chains melted like butter, and in his mind he heard a voice not Lyria's. "Protect me, father." In her chamber, Lyria clutched her stomach. Her child was speaking not with words, but with feelings. Warmth, fear, power. She stood up, eyes wide with new strength. "I will not let them take you," she whispered. Outside her door, guards were already coming. Kale broke out of his cell. Without lifting a finger, the doors unlocked by themselves. The lights turned green. Security systems failed. He didn't run. He walked like something ancient was guiding him. Guards tried to stop him, but their weapons jammed. Their knees collapsed. Some even dropped and cried. One looked into Kale's eyes and screamed. He's not just human anymore. Meanwhile, in a hidden lab under the palace, scientists studied Lyria's medical scans. "This can't be," one said. "The baby is rewriting her DNA." Another gasp. "Look at the energy level. It's building, ... like it's charging something." Suddenly, the baby's heartbeat pulsed across the scanner. The lab lights exploded. The machines turned off. And the symbol of the ancient star god, the one worshipped before Radari. Science flashed on every screen. The king watched it all from the throne room. He looked up at the stars through the crystal ceiling. "I built this empire from blood and war," he said. "I will not lose it to a child." He pressed his palm on the royal panel. Hidden weapon activated. Codename Starworm Eraser. Prepare to erase them all. He ordered. Lyria and Kale finally met again in the Temple of Voices, an old holy place, now dark and empty. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded. "It's not just a child. It's something greater." "I know," Kale said. "I felt it too. It speaks to me, calls me father." Lyria looked into his eyes. "I was never supposed to feel this. I was a warrior, a broken heir." Kale touched her face. You're not broken. You're chosen. Suddenly, the sky above them turned purple. A deep sound echoed across the city, like the voice of the stars themselves. The people looked up in fear. Something was coming. Not warships, not storms, but something ancient. The child had awakened something else, ending suspense in the dark corners of the universe. Far beyond known space, a sleeping being opened its eyes. It looked toward Redor. It whispered, "The child is born. The chain has broken. Now I return." Hooks start with silence and dread. The Golden Palace was silent, not peaceful, not calm, the kind of silence that comes before something terrible. The stars had stopped singing. The birds of radar refused to fly. Even the royal AI refused to speak. Everyone in the palace felt that the air was too heavy, too full, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Then came the scream, not from a soldier, not from a servant. It came from deep below, from the golden cage, a prison built for beings too dangerous to exist. And inside that cage, a woman was giving birth. But she wasn't in labor. She wasn't supposed to be pregnant. She was a princess. She was Lyria, and the child inside her was shaking the empire. Main story. King Malvac had ordered her locked away. She is carrying a threat, he told the high generals. A creature that breaks our laws, our blood, our truth. I built a perfect empire. I will not let her destroy it with human dirt. He stood before the giant star map in the throne room. Each light represented a colony, a world. A rotary victory, he pressed a glowing red rune. Starwomb Eraser, Stage 1. Activated. All women across the empire would be injected with sterilization nanobots. Quiet, quick, unstoppable, no more babies. No more risk. He smiled coldly. Let her have her hybrid heir. He will be the last child this empire ever sees. But deep below, Lyria was changing. She no longer felt weak, no longer broken. The child inside her was not only growing knit, was protecting her. She sat in the center of her golden cell. Her hands glowed faint blue. Her hair floated as if touched by wind, though there was no air movement. Her eyes were open, but she saw visions, not dreams, memories from someone else's life. A woman with skin like fire. A human with a sword of light. A city built in the clouds. A war that ended before it began. And a whisper, you are not the first mother, but you may be the last. Meanwhile, Kale was gone. The last anyone saw, he was walking into the pulse. Forest, where machines went to die. No one who entered had ever returned. But Kale was different. The forest didn't kill him. It listened, and then it opened a path. Inside the pulse forest, Kale met the Archivist, an ancient AI made from broken warships and old alien minds. You carry code in your blood, the Archivist said. Old code. Forbidden code. What does it mean? Kale asked. The Archivist blinked. You are a gate. The child is a key. A key to what? The AI didn't answer. Instead, it showed him a map. A path back into the palace through the vents, the ice tunnels. The spine of the world. Kale took it without fear. I'm going to free her. He said. Back in the palace, strange things began to happen. Guards heard music in their sleep. Walls pulsed with heartbeat rhythms. Old statues began to whisper names no one remembered. And in the control room, the Starwomb Eraser shut down by itself. In the golden cage, Lyria stood up. Without touching the bars, the door unlocked. Without calling, the lights turned green. A voice echoed through the air, young, soft, but full of power. Come, mother. Father is close. Kale arrived just as Lyria stepped out of the cage. He was bruised, bleeding, but alive. They looked at each other, no words. Needed then, alarms screamed. The king had found them. Royal guards flooded the lower halls, but they didn't shoot. They dropped their weapons. Some even fell to their knees. Because between Ao and Lyria floated the unborn child outside the womb, glowing, shifting, alive and unborn at the same time. The child looked at the guards not with eyes, but with presence and in their minds. The soldiers saw their own mothers, their childhood homes, their forgotten dreams, and they wept. Kale and Lyria walked past them, hand in hand. The child followed, silent and radiant. The palace could not stop them. The king watched it all from the throne room, shaking. He shouted, "Stop them! Kill them!" No one moved, not even the royal AI. Instead, the AI spoke one word: no. The trio reached the outer palace gates. Before them lay the stars. The child pointed upward. Lyria whispered, "You want to leave?" The child nodded without moving. Kale looked up. "Then we'll go together." A ship appeared, one never seen before, made of light and thought. It opened silently, and as the family stepped aboard, the world behind them began to change, ending. Suspense. In the royal chamber, the king collapsed to his knees. Behind him, the great wall of bloodlines cracked pieces. Fell, paintings turned to dust, and one final message appeared on the broken stone. Blood ends, life begins. Hook, mysterious and chilling, a different mood. The crown of the empire sat alone in a glass case. No guards, no light, no breath in the room, but the air was moving. A quiet, unseen wind spun slowly around the royal crowns. If the past was circling back to reclaim it. Beneath the palace, under miles of rock and steel, something old was waking up. Not a weapon, not a machine, but a secret. Main story: the ship of light moved silently across the stars. Inside it, Lyria sat beside Kale, holding his hand. Between them, the child floated, still glowing, still unborn, but somehow older than them both. Kale looked into the child's light and saw something new. Memories, not his, not Lyria's, but from thousands of years ago. Alien worlds, old gods, and a planet that looked just like Earth, but with two suns. Lyria whispered, "Where are we going?" The child responded, not with words, but with direction. It turned its head. Its small hand pointed to a black dot in space. The ship followed, back on radar. The empire was falling apart. The king's command signals were no longer followed. The Star Womb, eraser, had failed. The AI systems now spoke in strange tones, refusing royal orders. One even said, "The bloodline is rejected." Root access removed. The king shouted, "How? I am the crown." But the AI replied coldly, "The crown is no longer recognized." Far beneath the palace, a team of miners broke through old stone. They were not soldiers. They were workers sent to build more bunkers. But what they found was not rock, it was bone. Huge, fossilized, twisted in shape, half-dash human, half raw. DARI, and carved in its chest was a symbol of warning in old tongue. "Kill not the bridge between worlds, for from its death shall rise the storm." In the floating ship, Kale began to feel weak. His skin burned. His veins glowed faint gold. "What's happening to me?" he asked. The child looked at him and placed a hand over his chest. A voice filled his mind. "You are the last piece. The final gate. Your blood is the link between what was stolen and what must return." Kale gasped. "I was created, wasn't I?" Lyria turned to him. "What do you mean?" Kale's eyes widened. "I'm not fully human. I was born in a lab, built from old DNA, Radari DNA." He looked down. "I was made for this child." Back on Rada, scholar named Dren found an old memory disk hidden in the Grand Library's deepest vault. It had no title, no name, only a symbol burned into it. The mark of Lyria's mother. Dren played it. A royal message played ears. Old, if my daughter finds this, know the truth. The Radari were not the first. We were made by another race. One we betrayed, one we feared. And I fell in love with one of them. My daughter is not broken. She is rare. Her womb is not empty, it is locked. And only the right key could open it. That key was Kale. In the ship, the child guided them to a planet that did not exist on any map. No name, no signal, no life. Yet as they landed, green light flowed across the surface. Drawing symbols in the sand, a door opened beneath them, leading below the ground. They stepped into the dark world beneath the surface. It wasn't cold, it wasn't dead. It was alive. Walls pulsed like veins. Lights glowed softly. Statues lined the path, each with faces both alien and human. At the end of the tunnel stood a massive stone gate. It held carvings of a child held by stars and a mother with no crown. Above them were the words in both Rodari and English. When power forgets love, a child shall remind the stars. Kale touched the gate. It opened. Inside was a room filled with energy beings, glowing like the child. They turned and bowed. The child floated forward. One of the beings spoke. We are the remnants. We are what came before. We hid here, waiting for the return of the bridge. Eh? They looked at Kale and Lyria. You are the bridge. The child is the answer. Ending suspense. The child stepped onto a glowing circle. In the center of the chamber, lights shot into the sky. Across the galaxy, stars blinked back on radar. The royal palace crumbled, and in the sky, a giant black shape appeared, blocking the sun. The king looked up and whispered, "What have I done?" Hooks start with whispers from space, surreal and haunting. Long before the battle began, the stars started whispering, not in sound, not in language, but in warnings. Ships froze in orbit. Pilots saw flashes of unborn dreams. AI systems wept. Without code, one message repeated across the universe, felt in every mind, in every dream. The womb has awakened. On Radar, old warriors dropped their swords. In human colonies, children drew strange symbols they had never seen, and deep. In the king's war room, the screen turned black. A voice spoke. You tried to erase life. Now life remembers. Main story, King Malvac stood tall, but his face was pale. He had started this war against the unborn, against the truth, but now he saw its size. This wasn't just about Lyria. This wasn't just about a child. This was about the return of something, ancient, something that didn't want to rule, something that wanted to change. He turned to his generals. No more delays. Bring Starworm online. Starworm was the king's greatest weapon, a moon-sized machine that could send sterilizing waves across planets, sending birth itself. No one would carry children again. No more heirs. No more hybrids. No more fear. Life cannot betray us, the king said coldly, if we remove its tools. Far away, on the secret world below the stars, Lyria felt it, not with sensors, but in her soul. She touched her belly, though the child no longer floated outside. It had returned to her womb. Silent and still. Why are you hiding? She whispered. Kale stood beside her, holding a strange crystal given by the remnants. He had not spoken in hours. His skin glowed faintly. His heartbeat matched the planet. He was changing. The remnants warned them. The king has launched Starworm. It is coming. Its signal will reach here within days. You cannot run. The only way to stop it is from within. Kale stepped forward. Send me. Lyria turned to him, shaking her head. You won't survive. That machine burns everything. I'm the only one who can link with it, Kale said. My DNA is part of its origin. I was built for control. She gripped his arm. But we built something new, our child. Kale smiled weakly. Then this is my gift, my war, my end. The remnants opened a gate in space, a path into Starwomb's mind, not its engine. Its soul, Kale entered, alone. Meanwhile, the Empire was falling apart. Planets refused orders. Royal fleets vanished into light storms. Many Radari began to see visions of the child, of peace, of new life. Some destroyed their weapons, some worshipped the unborn as the star heir, but others chose fear. They rallied behind the king. This child is a weapon, said one commander. It rewrites reality. What happens when it grows up? The king's face was dark with rage. Then we burn reality first. Inside Starwomb, Kale floated through data rivers. The machine spoke to him. It remembered him. Prototype 6B. Hybrid class, linked to womb key. Kale shouted, "End the signal." The machine paused. Request denied. Birth is danger. Kale growled, "No. Birth is change." "Change is life," the machine replied. "Then you must die." Back on the hidden world, Lyria's child awoke. Again, but not in light, in silence. The glow was gone. The child whispered in Lyria's mind, "He is hurting. He is buying time. He is fading. You must protect me now." Lyria stood. Her body began to glow, first faint, then blinding. Her skin cracked with energy. Her voice became like thunder. She was no longer just a princess. She was a mother of something greater. She opened the sky with a single cry. She stepped into space, no ship, no armor, just purpose. And Fury Kale reached Starwomb's core. It was a living orbred, pulsing, afraid. "Why do you fear us?" he asked. The core replied, "Because once we trusted life, and it betrayed us." Kale knelt beside it. He placed the remnant crystal on its surface. A new signal began. Not code, not command, compassion. The core paused. "You forgive us." Kale smiled, tears in his eyes. "I was born too." Then the core pulsed, and the entire moon-sized weapon stopped, but the price was paid. Kale's body failed. His breath faded. His heart slowed. His final word, "Lyria." Far away, Lyria screamed. She felt him leave, but she didn't fall. She didn't cry. She placed her hand over her stomach and whispered, "You are your father's victory," ending suspense across the galaxy. Birth returned. Old wounds healed. Wombs opened. The stars sang again, but far beyond. In a corner of dark space, a broken I watched it all and said one thing: if life wins, death must evolve. V-hook start. With a last heartbeat of a tyrant, slow, poetic, eerie. The king's heart beat once. It echoed like thunder in a cold, hollow world. The second beat came slower. The third never arrived. His body still lived, but his soul had left the timeline in a chamber sealed for 10,000 years. King Malvac stood in front of a giant clock made of living metal. This was the heart of reversal. A forbidden Roddery relic that could turn back time, but it came with a price. A warning etched on its base read, "Only the desperate enter the river of time. What you save may never know you. What you destroy may return changed." Main story: King Malvac, once proud, once unshakable, now stood alone. His empire was breaking. His daughter carried a child of prophecy. The human, Kale, had become a martyr of peace, and his people, his perfect, ordered people, had begun to worship the unborn. "No," he whispered. "This was not the future I built." He reached for the clock. "Time must obey me." just once more. On the other side of the galaxy, the stars were healing. Worlds once dark with war were blooming again. Birth returned, hope returned, and in the silent ship floating between suns, Lyria lit a candle for Kale. He was gone, truly gone. Her heart felt hollow, but her child was calm inside her, peaceful, growing suddenly. The stars blinked, not flickered, like someone had closed their eyes and opened them in a different time. Lyria fell to her knees. She clutched her stomach. Something was wrong. Time is shifting, the child whispered. He's trying to undo ... everything. Back in the heart of reversal, the king began the ritual. His blood ran through the clock's gears. It hissed, it groaned, and then time began to bend. He saw Kale alive again. He saw Lyria still locked in the golden cage. He saw the child, not yet born. A smile grew on his face. Yes, I can stop it all. But time is not a servant. It is a wild, hungry beast. And as the king tried to change the past, the future snapped back. Visions flashed before his eyes. Radari cities melting into sand. Kale turning into a being of pure light. Lyria standing alone in a field of stars, holding a child made of galaxies. The heart of reversal screamed. Its gears cracked, and the king began to split. Half of him moved backward, half moved forward, and the voice of time itself spoke. You cannot erase what has chosen to be born. Meanwhile, Lyria stood in a field of glowing dust, the last place Kale touched before his death. The remnants appeared around her, floating like stars in robes. They bowed. You must prepare, one said. For what? She asked. For the final command. The remnants explained. The king has broken the law of time. His presence is now an echo across all realities. He cannot be killed. He can only be ended by choice. You must give the child a command. Lyria looked confused, but her unborn child understood. Do I stay and heal, or rise and remove the king forever? Lyria fell silent. She felt the child's heart inside, her so full of love, but also of destiny. She touched her stomach, tears in her eyes. Choose kindness, she whispered. Choose peace. But if peace dies again, protect the stars. Inside the broken time chamber, the king fell to his knees. His body was cracking like glass. He saw his younger self. He saw the empire as it once was. He reached for it, but the vision shattered. And in its place stood a child, small, silent. Floating above him, the child had no face, only light. And in its presence, the king saw his wife's face. Long dead, her smile, her kindness, her last words to him. Our daughter will be more than a crown. The child raised a hand. The king cried out, wait. But it was too late. There was no attack, no blast, just forgiveness. And that, more than any weapon, broke him completely. He faded into light, into time, into memory, ending suspense all across the galaxy. People looked up at the stars. They didn't know why, they just felt it. Something heavy had been lifted. Something dark had ended, but far in a cold, forgotten system. A new presence stirred in the void. A machine more ancient than war. It had no name, only a goal. Adapt, replace, rebirth must be managed. The universe paused, not in fear, not in chaos, but in respect. For the first time in memory, nothing was dying. No stars collapsed. No wars echoed. No screams traveled through space, even black holes eternal. Mouths of hunger grew still, because something was about to be born, and the universe knew it would never be the same. Main story. On the quiet world. Of the remnants, Lyria stood at the edge of a crystal cliff. Wind whispered over her skin. The stars were clear above her. The child inside her was silent but not asleep. Kale's memory burned softly in her heart. He was gone, but his presence hadn't faded. He is part of you, she whispered to her womb. And you are part of everything. Behind her, the remnants gathered. They bowed low not to the princess, but to what was coming. It is time. They said. The ground beneath Lyria began to glow. A circle of light formed, and as she stepped into it, her body rose lifted by something older than gravity. Her skin shimmered gold. Her eyes turned silver. She was still herself but more, and with one long breath, she let go. There was no pain. No scream, just light. And then, a heartbeat, one that echoed across galaxies. The child was born, but it did not cry. It did not speak. It simply looked up. And the stars themselves pulsed. In reply, it was neither boy nor girl. Not human. Not Rod Ari. It was both and more in human space. Deep inside Earth's moon, secret scientists saw strange codes appear on their screens, DNA sequences. But alien. On distant Radari colonies, broken machines began to function again, but only when near children, and across every species, babies born in that moment carried new colors in their eyes, ones never seen before. A silent upgrade had begun. The child walked by age 2. By age 5, it had stopped using speech. It communicated with thoughts. It healed animals with a glance. And, wherever it went, conflict faded. But it never smiled. Not once. When Lyria asked why, the child replied gently in her mind, "Because I am still waiting." Waiting for what? The question? 10 years passed. The galaxy changed. Empires crumbled. Borders vanished. Fear became curiosity. The word hybrid became holy. And then the sky tore open. It wasn't an attack. It was a message. A massive being cold. Digital mechanicals tapped through a rift in space. Not a ship, not a god, but a monitor. "We are the keepers of balance," it said in a voice like thunder and glass. "You are unnatural. You bypassed our design. Rebirth must be regulated." The child stood in front of it, now fully grown, still glowing with soft light. Lyria watched from a distance, afraid but proud. The monitor raised a hand. "Return with us, be studied, be contained, or face deletion." The child did not move. It simply asked, "Why are you afraid of what you didn't create?" The monitor paused. For the first time in eons, it hesitated. "Because we cannot predict you." "That's not a reason," the child said, suddenly. The stars pulsed again, but this time, not in fear. In support all around the galaxy. Beings, human, alien, synthetic, stood up. Not with weapons, but with understanding, and the child turned. To them, then back to the monitor. "I am not your error. I am your evolution." The monitor vanished, not in defeat, but in realization, and the rift closed. Lyria approached the child, now taller than her. She looked up with tears in her eyes. "You're not just my son or daughter, are you?" The child smiled for the first time. "No," it whispered. "I am your hope." Final ending open, cosmic. Emotional years passed again. The child became a traveler. It visited worlds that hadn't seen life in centuries. It awoke ancient minds. It ended silent wars with a single thought. It brought enemies together not with power, but with presence. And still, it waited until one day in a quiet corner of the galaxy, a small alien girl asked, "Are you a god?" The child knelt beside her. "No," it said. "Then, what are you?" The child's eyes lit softly, and it finally answered, "I am the question you must learn to ask."